Great morning, world. Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon.
Great morning, humans, and great morning, world. Just back from a long trip and excited to get back into this structure. I just want to welcome everybody and wish you a great morning and present you with what I call my Monday morning focus. Spend about 10, sometimes 20 minutes together, and the idea is to help you and me, in turn, leverage this day to go your way. So today's Monday morning focus, here's what you're in for today, is on the topic of shortcuts. That's an interesting topic these days, right? Do you even know you're taking a shortcut? So is it okay to choose a quick fix or a shortcut or cut corners when it comes to things like your physical, mental, or financial goals? You might be surprised in what I think about that coming from this standpoint. So for those of you that have never met me before, my name's Dr. JC Doornick, aka The Dragon. You're a life transformation coach, host of the Rise Up with Dragon podcast, soon to be first published author. And somehow our podcast has become in the top 1% of the world. But I'm also the co-founder of what's called the Make Sense Academy, which is an environment where people can finally lean into their goals and thrive. If you're looking for mentorship, coaching, and a community full of like-minded, solution-focused people at a extremely low cost to you, more about value, just throughout this podcast, wherever you're looking through, or if you're listening to this or you're watching it on any of the channels, just put in the comments or DM me the word community, and we'll get you the information for the Make Sense Academy, risk-free. So let's get into this idea of shortcuts. And it's my first day here. I'm not taking a shortcut today. I'm jumping right back in. So there's a great quote that makes a lot of sense to me. It's actually by John Maxwell, who has just been popping up a lot lately. So it says that the longest route or the longest distance between 2 points is a shortcut. Isn't that interesting? It's such a fascinating way of looking at, goal setting versus goal getting. So does that make sense to you? So this quote by Maxwell may or may not resonate with you, but here's the point. If it does resonate, it's most likely because you're on the other side of the attempts that you've made to cut corners, take shortcuts, or maybe even just live in an unconsciously, reactively, quick fix reality, right? What I'm saying is if it makes sense that the longest distance between point A and point B is a shortcut, it's because you're on the other side of recognizing that it didn't work, and you're experiencing what we call disillusion. You might want to write that name down or that word down, disillusion. Here's what disillusion means. If you're disillusioned, it's defined as a feeling of disappointment resulting from the discovery that something is not as good as you once believed it to be. So in this space right now, just recognize that if you're on the other side of trying something and it didn't work and you're disillusioned, that's the only time that you recognize that it was a bad idea. Sometimes we get a gut feeling about a strategy that we're choosing, and sometimes we can notice a little bit of a conscious rationale that it's a shortcut, and we kind of know in the back of our minds. But if we choose to take a shortcut, we think it's the good idea, right? At that time. So I love that idea. And it's a way of letting you off the hook or perhaps waking you up. So, however, until you become disillusioned, until you're on the other side by your decision to take a shortcut, it actually is something that makes perfect sense to you at the time that you're making the decision. So that's me being empathetic and understanding. I mean, anytime that I've ever taken a shortcut, I didn't post on social media, hey, I'm taking a shortcut, it's not going to work. I'm actually probably doing it to save money and get results faster. And at that time, it makes sense to me. So this is why it's so important for health coaches, life coaches, mentors, business coaches alike, to practice what we call empathetic and autonomy supportive coaching. It's interesting when you hire a coach, very often the coach thinks that their job is to tell you what to do. When you hire a coach, you're setting a goal and you're basically saying, support me. But sometimes if you decide what your actions are to leverage that goal and you haven't asked them to call you on your bullshit, you're just looking for support and accountability, right? So it's important for people to practice that. So what that means, autonomy supportive coaching, means to not only meet clients and coaches, if you're a business coach, where they are in understanding. That's the first step. Everybody knows that. I like to meet my clients, at a place of understanding where I can get them, right? Point at your head rather than grab. But also walk beside them. This is what's important. Also walk beside them as they choose the vehicle and strategy that makes the most sense to them at that time. Isn't that interesting? That's what autonomy supportive empathetic coaching means. It means even if you see someone doing something that you deem ineffective because of your vast experience, you still have to walk beside them, because how did you figure it out, right? You go through that process. So when people are overwhelmed, here's the understanding, here's the empathy. And this might be you listening to this right now. And let me know if you resonate with this. When people are overwhelmed by life, they have a tendency to have lower tolerance and interest and desire in doing the hard work, right? That's why people, they know, right? You listen to David Goggins and he'll tell you how you get to from point A to point B, right? Long term. But when you're in that overwhelmed state that many people are in right now, your emotional management turns into emotional mismanagement, right? So you're less interested in hard work, spending more money, and taking risks that you have this tendency of believing promote a chance of failure and lost time. So it's interesting to look and say, I understand why people are taking shortcuts, right? And also, is that part of the journey to take a shortcut and fail? Absolutely, right? Nobody's ever just woken up and succeeded. So even if logic and rationale proves that cutting corners and not doing the hard work and having patience and taking risks, even if that proves unequivocally that actually promotes more suffering in the long run, people will still do it because they're not thinking like that in the time. So empathetically, I understand that. However, it's important to be empathetic and understand that health transformation, this is key right here. Health transformation, physical, mental, or financial, right? That's the way I look at health transformation, is a journey, and mistakes and the eventual disillusion is often an equally important part of the journey as when they finally decide to do things, quote unquote, the right way and get the job done. Here's what I'm saying by that. Is making mistakes and doing stupid shit is actually equally as important and valuable as doing things the right way, because it's only that leads to the disillusion, that leads to you having a reason to say, I'm going to break the chains of insanity and do it the right way. So when I see somebody doing something that I know from experience is not going to work, I don't tell them unless they've asked me to call them on it and ask for my expertise. I support them like somebody else supported me, so I could go through the process of saying that didn't work and I don't want to do something again that didn't work. And you'll notice sometimes we do things over and over and over again that we know don't work. Watch what happens January 1st with health transformation. So my suggestion is this today in this focus. Just simply, if you're looking to accomplish a goal, like say get healthy in starting in January in 2024 and break the chains of insanity, right? Just simply start with the end in mind, the end goal in mind. Try this today and you might catch yourself. Focus not only on the acute short-term goal, but the long-term goal of, say, something like radiant long-term physical, emotional, and financial health, like stability, control, a new normal where you don't worry about it and always have to deal with it. Let's say that's the end goal, rather than the cessation of your immediate and acute needs. But I will say, although addressing acute, immediate needs may be attractive. It's highly attractive to get out of a bad situation. And it also might be a nice first step. One thing I notice about health transformation is when somebody takes the first step of a quick fix and they get some results, if they have a good coach and a mentor, right, then that is going to be a different conversation. Once results are there, there's an awakening moment, right? That's really, really important. So sometimes I'm fine with people having a quick fix mentality. And I'll give an example of that, what's going on right now, because I know that like a week or two later, I'm talking to a different person. So that's an example of that empathetic and autonomy supportive coaching. That's what I do. So then step into a space of addressing your strategy with logic, right? If you have that end goal, right? Step into a space of logic and rationale with a spoonful of historical data, which is all out there. I mean, everybody knows what the data is, a spoonful of historical data, which unequivocally proves that the true path, here's what's interesting, the true path of least resistance to get from where you want to go to where you, from where you are to where you want to go, the true path of least resistance is often to take the path that contains more resistance and doing the work. Isn't that interesting? The very thing that a shortcut mentality is trying to avoid is the actual ingredient to get there. But it defeats the purpose of the shortcut to do hard work, spend more money, take more risk, right? So fascinating. We're very, very interesting creatures. Or perhaps even, and I would be okay with this, perhaps even a compromise may be your first step. A compromise, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A little bit of this and a little bit of that is better than just a little bit of that. This is a fascinating thing. A compromise is, in fact, a quick fix and a shortcut mentality is better than doing nothing, in my opinion, because at least you're on the dance floor or some sort of it. So 1 foot on the dance floor, here's the compromise of doing the work, and 1 foot in the doorway of taking a shortcut. I think that's a great starting point. Okay. So here's a great example that resonates, as a health transformation coach, just a sea of people are taking more shortcuts now than ever before. And like you can tell by this rise up, I get it. So a great example of this today is people taking the highly attractive, highly alluring weight loss medications that promote quick results with little to no efforts. I mean, like, that sounds like a great deal. Take a shot, you eat less, right? And there's a host of things that are incongruent about that if you have the end goal in mind, but that's not what we're thinking about. We're thinking about getting something now. So that's the value of the shortcut, as it promotes quick results, right? So we know statistically, if we backed up from that and we stepped into the space of logic and rationale, we know statistically that on the other side of this fad going on right now, if you look at all the historical data, pharmaceutical companies don't get people healthy, right? They get you to need more pharmaceuticals. So we know statistically what's coming down the line is actually an increase, probably over 50% in our country, of obesity, right? So there's the logic and the rationale, but that's not the way we think when we see that allure. So perhaps a smart choice for those people, just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, would be to integrate, in addition to that quick fix and short mentality, if they could step into the space of logic and rationale, perhaps what they could do is integrate, rather than just saying, hey, I can eat a cheeseburger and a Snickers bar because that's all I'm going to eat today and I'll lose weight. Maybe just integrate with some consciousness some healthy snacks like the fuelings that I promote. That's one of the tools we have, is just using a vehicle and a tool that has some macronutrients in it, right? And the calories that you need. Even if it's not done perfectly, perhaps there's the compromise, is to get the quick fix while you're addressing some logic and rationale that will one day support the long-term goal. So I just love that idea. And I love the compromise in this world because I fully understand empathetically, autonomy supportive, why people, because I gave you those symptoms, overwhelm, financial stress, concern with the world, all of those things, that prompts you to look for a quick fix because the idea of doing something hard right now seems overwhelming in itself. So I get it. So I meet people where they're at. And if that's you, I'd love to speak to you. However, I love to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, so that at least you're moving in the right direction. Apply that strategy, in fact, to anything, physical, mental, or financial goals. At least, if you're looking at a quick fix mentality right now, get rich quick, learn quickly, get healthy quick. Try to put one toe or one foot on the dance floor of logic and rationale at least. And I think that you've got the formula. It'll take longer, but you've got a formula for moving forward rather than being on that disillusioned side and then having to start over again in the definition of insanity. You'll see that having even just a toe on the dance floor rather than no toe is still progress. And I hope that resonates with you, and a form of dancing in the realm of long-term results. Make sense? Now, if you're the kind of person that is all in and you are on the other side of this and it pisses you off to see people's shortcuts, that's fine, right? But if you're telling people on any level that they're doing something wrong, you're the problem, not what they're doing. If you're telling people what they're doing wrong, you're the problem. It sends them further into wrongville. So remember something after this message: if you or anyone that you love is curious and ready to take the first step in reclaiming control of your health, your physical, your mental, or financial, reach out to me, give me the word community, or just tell me that you're interested in having a chat about this and your goals. And I'll just tell you how we do it. I'm doing this for 18 years, helping thousands of people on all levels. And we've got a goof-proof solution to take care of all these things, but we'll meet you where you're at. So just reach out and inquire about that. And then I say to you, not ready yet, because there's another interesting factor. Maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe you want everything that I'm talking about, but you're not ready yet, because you got to be ready. And if somebody's trying to get you ready, that's not going to help you. That's the problem as well. If you're not ready yet, just type in the word community, like I said, and I'll invite you risk-free to check out our community. Just at least get in an environment that's inspirational, supportive, educational. We do these rise ups every day in our private community, the Make Sense Academy. Just type in the word community and I'll be happy to send it to you. And then just so you know, sometimes these recordings don't stay on the community support, on these social media channels. So just reach out to me privately with a DM and say, I'm in community, I'm interested, and we'll get you there. So I see a lot of people chatting, and I see some people that are saying community. So just make sure that you DM me, reach out to me privately and write that, just in case I don't have access to that. And I see some of the members of the Make Sense Academy in there. Yeah, welcome back. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early. So love and appreciate you all. This has been the Monday Morning Focus. The dragon is back, and I've got a lot to share. So you guys all have an amazing day, and I hope it goes your way.